Good evening guys, it's Callsign Wardred, back with a video from jumpyjumpyspider, who's in the USS Mahan. So a little bit of quick history really. USS Mahan, or Mahan, is the lead ship of the Mahan class destroyers. Pennant number was DD-364. Just gives you a little bit of a scale of just how many destroyers the American Navy built for World War II, and in general. So she was named after a Rear Admiral of the 19th century, Rear Admiral Alfred Thayer Mahan, or Mahan, depending on how you say it. I'm sure the Americans could correct me. Laid down 12th of June 1934. Commissioned into the fleet on the 18th of September 1936, so that's quite a quick build process really, especially if you look at the process for modern ships, things in the Royal Navy. Modern American vessels as well do take a little bit longer. The fate of the Mahan, she was disabled by a Japanese kamikaze attack and then eventually sunk by a US destroyer on the 7th of December 1944. Displaced 1,500 long tons, and she had 46,000 ship horsepower, or shaft horsepower. So gets her up to a nice little speed, especially in game there. Jumpy's just activated the speed boost. So without the speed boost of about 34 knots, and as you can see in this game, he's powering on to get into that cap as quickly as possible. The thing there that we notice is there's a Riga, so the Soviet Tier 9 radar cruiser. Not very good when you're in a Tier 7 American destroyer. So to that end, he's divisioned up with myself in the Colorado because I'm trying to grind out some experience in order to get the Kansas when that drops out of early access stage, and War Donkey in the Sinop. The less said about that Russian battleship, the better, but it's a lot better than the Colorado, in my personal experience anyway. So Jumpy's got into the cap. We're expecting the radar any second, so Jumpy's like trying to get his ship into a nice position that if the radar does pop up, he's able to make a quick getaway and not take too much damage. Preemptive torpedoes out on the other side just in case there's anything else over there, but his RPF's currently telling him that the closest ship is either the Riga or the Soyuz, depending on which way you look at it. So for some reason this radar isn't coming, and Jumpy's actually able to get himself a solo cap. So the good news about this, it's really good for Jumpy, as this is the first destroyer line he's actually grinding up properly. He's an incredibly good battleship player, very good battleship player for us, and he just wanted a challenge of trying something new really. So let me know in the comments what you thought of Jumpy's performance in this bottom tier destroyer in a highly up tiered game. And there's the radar there, but it's too little too late. The radar can pop in, Jumpy can evacuate the smokescreen, and Graf Zeppelin's coming in to try and torpedo him, but he didn't leave long enough for his torpedo aimer to close in. So that's a really easy torpedo beat dodge, to be fair. The radar's gone on cooldown, and now Jumpy's going to start peppering this Soyuz. The Mahan has got 127mm guns. She's got 5 of them in single turrets, and she has 12 torpedoes, able to launch 8 over one side and 4 over the other. So the central torpedo launcher can swing either to the port or starboard, which is quite handy. Just enables you to get a little bit extra torpedo power on one side, which was a massive advantage over previous destroyer designs in the American Navy, which only had left and right tubes, things like the Clemson and the Nicholas, although I believe the Farragut did get centerline torpedoes as well. So the Mahan is quite a good ship there. Doesn't do a lot of damage. I apologise for what's happening with that audio there. It went from nothing to 100, but I'll get that tweaked down. So hopefully that's a little bit better. I think it was because I tabbed out on my screens when I was recording. I didn't realise it was actually muting the volume on ships. So when I tab back in to access the replay, we've got the actual game volume now. Not that it really makes much of a difference. Jumpy hadn't really done much up until that point, actually, to be fair, of opening fire on the Soyuz. So as you can see, he doesn't have IFHE spec. He's getting an awful lot of non-penetrations, but at the same time, this ship's quite good because you can just set fires every now and again. The fate of that Soyuz is sealed there, but he's looking at the Riga, getting torpedoes off. Straight away, telling that Jean Bart to get back as well. The Jean Bart's in fairly good position there. All he had to do was reverse around the island, but for some reason he decides to accelerate with the speed boost on and turn to starboard. So as you can see, what's going to happen is the Jean Bart is going to eat most of those torpedoes that were intended for the Riga. Not an ideal situation by any means, especially considering he was warned. Now, I take this with a mixed bag really, because launching torpedoes from the second row is never a good idea, and I would say that normally. However, in that circumstance, yeah, maybe Jumpy didn't need to actually launch the torpedoes, but if the Riga had pushed onto the Jean Bart, it would have provided at least a nice distraction, forced him to sail in a particular direction and allow him to get sunk quicker. So yeah, Jumpy's he's not really scared of this Riga at the minute. He's not looking at him, so if the Riga's not bothering with this tier 7 DD on his flank, you might as well just open fire and see what little damage you can get. You know, if he sets a fire as well, forces the Riga to consider maybe using a damage control party, put that fire out, and there's that fire there. So this Riga's now burning, and he's on quite low health. He's about to get finished off by division mate there, War Donkey and the Sinop, just putting a load of 16-inch shells through that nice bow. And for some reason, this Jean Bart on the enemy team decided to pretty much get to the position where the Riga and the Soyuz were when we first saw them, and then just hit the S key and just reverse. So for whatever reason, it's allowed us to win this flank and get a nice push on the back of their team. As you can see on the mini-map there, the Graf Zeppelin's just been spotted. Now the Graf Zeppelin does quite a good job really, considering, at trying to dissuade our team, trying to, you know, pick away at us a little bit, which is a little bit better than can be said for our Shikaku, but we'll come to that in a little bit later. So yeah, Jumpy's just firing and peppering away on this Jean Bart as well, because he's not looking at him. The Jean Bart is firmly focused on the friendly Jean Bart that is barreling straight up the line towards him, and not caring about the Graf Zeppelin's torpedo bombers, which incidentally are about to come for Jumpy there. But we think he's going to take a torpedo, and RN Jesus is with him. He scrapes through that gap there, much to the dismay of the Graf Zeppelin. Turns around and carries on peppering. And this is basically what American destroyers should be doing, I think, is just, they need to use their guns, get the fires. Yeah, the torpedo hits are nice, they can do a decent amount of damage. The problem is the torpedoes on the Mahan are quite slow. Yeah, they've got the range, which is the first time really in the American destroyer line that you've actually got the ability to stealth torpedo as well, I believe. Everything up to that you are spotted before you launch your torpedoes. So it can be nice, or it can lull you into a false sense of security of actually focusing entirely on your torpedo tubes, which is probably a build that you could do. However, it's not one that I would recommend. So anyway, Jumpy, he's just set another fire on the Jean Bart there. The damage is just racking up really, because yeah, they can heal fire damage back, but if they're taking fire damage and the damage control party and then take more fire damage, they've got a permanent fire on them that's going to burn for quite a while. And because that Jean Bart was deciding to just reverse, it actually means he's going to eat some torpedoes now as well, which cause a flooding. So this Jean Bart is burning and flooding, and he's most definitely going to die. It's just a matter of who's about to get the kill. As you can see, it's not looking too good on the team score at the minute. Yeah, we are winning by points, and we've just secured the second cap there. But it's currently 6-all on the scoreboard. But just let me know what you guys think. Who's going to win this game? Because I was surprised at the end, to be fair. Yeah, I'll let you guys... Let me know what you think. So, we've won the left flank of the map. They've most definitely won the right flank of the map. They've got an Östergötland left, which is tier 9. I'm going to say pan-European, but it's a tier 9 Swedish destroyer who's over on that flank. The only destroyer we've got left is jumpyjumpyspider in the Mahan. We're fortunate in the position here that Jumpy's got RPF, so it's currently actually pointing to that Östergötland, so we know that he's over towards B somewhere there, and he has just left the cap. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Now that Östergötland does play quite well. As I said, so does the Graf Zeppelin. So our friend the Alsace for some reason is on the J line. I think he fled away from the C cap, and he's just been trying to make his way back and do what he can. Myself in the Colorado, I've been sailing in a straight line for about 5 minutes, but that ship does not go fast at all. It's enabled War Donkey to push right forward with his much faster and superior Russian battleship, and get into a nice position to start chunking down the enemies over there. Jumpy's going to have to go and actually deal with this Östergötland to a certain extent, who is now flipping the B cap. So the game's, we're down the ship there at the minute. No idea what our CV is doing. I was pinging the chat, Jumpy was pinging the chat. CV, come on, spot this destroyer. If we spot the destroyer, we can actually kill him. And Donkey, myself, Jumpy, and the Alsace are all trained in that direction at the minute. So we're waiting for this CV to spot the destroyer here. He's going in with torpedo bombers, which, probably not the best armament for going after the destroyer at the time. So, a little bit of good news is that we've spotted the destroyer, but the CV is just not interested in the slightest in playing the team game. Yeah, he's just dropped a shred of torpedoes, and that's about all the CV is going to do to fight this Östergötland for the rest of the game. For some reason the Graf Zeppelin decides to try and AP bomb Jumpy there, I think just to get a little bit more chip damage in really. Although he would have been better served if he'd have gone after myself. Those bombs do quite a lot of damage to battleships, as anybody who's got a Graf Zeppelin or been on the receiving end of one can attest to. So Jumpy's just sort of preemptively firing torpedoes. We know roughly where the Östergötland is. He's in the B cap, he's flipped the cap, and the RPF is sort of pointing exactly where Jumpy's aiming at the minute. So a little bit of preemptive torpedoes just in case he tries to go back around the other way. Now the chat's going a little bit crazy here. CV, spot the destroyer. Or if you'd have spotted the destroyer, we could have had him killed. But the CV's only intent is going after damage really. Now I can understand to a certain extent, if you are in an aircraft carrier versus one of these pan-European destroyers or Swedish destroyers, yeah, they'll eat your planes. They do destroy your aircraft. But looking at the dynamic of the team there, so they're winning on points at the minute, and they're definitely winning on ships. They're now 2 ships up. Now Jumpy has just taken one hell of a whack there in one go, so he wisely decides to smoke up. That was all from the Megami. So set him on fire, damage his torpedo tubes, knocked his engine out, wisely choose to repair that, smoke up and hide. So that just leaves now the Alsace, who is going to die, but that's because the Östergötland was just left alone, really. I don't believe it's actually the Östergötland that kills him in the end, but it severely sort of railroaded him and hampered him into a position where he's got no real escape options. Now Jumpy's thinking about bugging out of the cap there, but he wisely decides it's better to try and take it. So some preemptive torpedoes there on that Gneisenau. And we know the Östergötland is behind us. My Colorado there spotting those torpedoes for Jumpy. They weren't really in any danger of hitting him, but I'm about to go down, and it's soon going to be Jumpy and the Shokaku versus 5 ships. So the Östergötland is launching an awful lot of angry fish in this general direction. But Jumpy's got the cap at the minute, so we're losing on points. I've just died there, and we need to get another kill in order to kind of secure this game. Now time is, of course, it is ticking down. It's not in our favour at the minute, but with the 2 cap or with a 1 cap advantage, it will be if nobody else dies. So Jumpy's deciding to open fire on this Gneisenau there, and he's quite lucky. He gets a fire off on the second volley. The Gneisenau decides to turn away. It's not a fight that he wants to take, so Jumpy's just going to about turn, kite away, and make his way back to the cap there. So the Alsace has just died, which is what I said, and it's just leaving Jumpy and the Shokaku. He's just taken a big old hit there again from the Megami. This Megami is a real pain. He's done well over half of Jumpy's total hit points worth of damage, and really been a bit of a thorn in his side there. So the Shokaku has just got a kill, and it's kind of flipped the score again in our favour. But as you can see, Jumpy has to back off. He's got no health. He can't win a gun duel with an Östergötland on this little health. He's 2 tiers down, and he's got no support from the CV whatsoever. So he's deciding to just drop a few torpedoes. You can see smoke's about to come back off cooldown. And there you go. The Östergötland has gone back into B. So Jumpy's smoking up. There's not much else he can do. This game's looking like it's going to be a loss if the Östergötland caps B there. And nobody can reset him. Now the Graf Zeppelin's trying to go after Jumpy here, but those dive bombs are nowhere near. Having not fired, it's almost impossible to actually tell where the destroyer's hiding in the smoke screen. And yet again the Shokaku continues to go off to the other flank, rather than at least attempting to spot the enemy destroyer that's actually capping the B flag. So just hang fire a little bit, sit back. People are starting to blind fire into the smoke. They probably saw how low health Jumpy was at his last known position, so they're just trying to bracket him a little bit with some high explosive shells. And the Zara, for some reason, is deciding to turn in. Now, the Italian cruisers are incredibly good looking ships. I don't think you need to put an American Stars and Stripes camo on them. That Zara only narrowly missed Jumpy there with those sap shells, because they probably would have killed him. But as he turns, he gives broadside to Jumpy, and with those 127mm AP rounds at that kind of range, they do make quite a mockery of lightly armoured cruisers. So the game's about to run out, and it's a good thing there too, because so that was Jumpy in the USS Mahan. Let me know in the comments how well do you think he did, and thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you